morning. You're tuning into the Board of County Commissioners agenda setting work session. It is Tuesday, March 29th, 2022. It is 9:02 a.m. We're in Building 1, Room 280. This is a hybrid meeting. For public virtual attendance, you may follow along on the Thurston County YouTube channel. I'm Carolina Mejia, Chair of the Board. I am joined by Vice Chair Ty Menser in the boardroom, Commissioner Gary Edwards, and County Manager Ramiro Chavez, as well as Assistant County Manager Robin Campbell, and many staff members who have joined us this morning. The first item on our agenda is the COVID-19 update. When I see Dr. A and Kurt, I'll pass it to you.
Okay, good morning, Commissioners. Kurt Harden, Interim Director of Public Health and Social Services. Today is marks day 783 for the COVID response that's been taking place. To date for Thurston County, all these numbers that I'm going to talk about are as of March 27th. Total cases in Thurston County, according to the state report, is 46,490. Unfortunately, the state reports Thurston County deaths at 402. And then our 14-day per 100,000 case rate as of March 27th is 77.3. Just want to give a little bit of perspective on that. Last week, it was 105.8. And 2 weeks ago, it was 151.9. So as you can see, continues to trend in a positive direction. For hospitalizations, current COVID patients are 9, with 0 suspected of COVID. Last week, the number was 10. 2 weeks ago, it was 9. So again, it's at a stable rate, or appears to be at a stable rate, which is a low number. Number on ventilators this week is 0. Last week it was 1, and 2 weeks ago it was 3. So that's good news as well. And in our ICU bed capacity is 8 for adult, 0 for pediatric, and our acute bed available capacity is 11 adult and 0 pediatric. Congregate care outbreaks, there's been 187 congregate care outbreaks in Thurston County since March of 2020. Currently, there's 11 congregate care outbreaks that are under investigation. And then the vaccination statistics numbers I'm going to give you are all as of March 26th. The vaccine doses that have been given in Thurston County are 508,472. The percent of people initiating vaccination in Thurston County is 71.9%. The percent of people fully vaccinated is 65.1%. And the percent of people initiating vaccination 16 and older is 81.6%. The percent of people fully vaccinated 16 and older is 73.9%. And then the percent of the population initiating vaccine who are 5 and older is 76%. And then the percent of population fully vaccinated 5 and older is 68.8%. And then the percent of eligible people receiving booster doses is 58.5% have received the booster dose. But I think some of the news you probably heard is they've recommended another booster dose for people age 50 and older. I'll let Dr. Abdul-Malik talk about that in just a couple minutes. Some additional items, vaccinations, the Capitol Mall. We've changed our vaccination clinic to 4 days a week based on demand. We're doing 11 to 8 on Wednesdays through Saturday, and then 11 to 6 on Sunday. And then on Thursday through Saturday is 11 to 8. Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, there's no Capitol Mall vaccinations. And additional clinic will be held this Thursday, 11 to 3 at the Yelm Community Center. And then we encourage appointments, but also walk-ins are welcome. For testing today, and I think this is the same that we've been doing for several weeks now, testing today at Rochester at the roof parking lot next to the Boys Club from 10 to 1. All testing times are 10 to 1. Tomorrow we'll be in Lacey at 3811 Pacific Avenue, Thursday at the Union Gospel Mission in Olympia, and Friday at the Evergreen State College. And again, all test sites are planned for 10 to 1, but they will close early if testing capacity is reached. And again, we're waiting on a definitive decision on vaccination for 6-month to 4-year-olds. And we're currently planning on maintaining a vaccination capability because we anticipate an initial surge once that vaccine is approved for 6-month to 4-year-olds. With that, I'll turn it over to Dr. Abdelmalik for her report.
Good morning, Commissioners. The FDA did approve booster doses, so booster dose of Pfizer for individuals over 50 and booster doses for those who are immunocompromised. So the EUAs for those vaccines have been updated. We're awaiting Washington State Department of Health specific guidance on that before we would be able to move forward as the Thurston County team. The other, but this is interesting and promising news. The vaccines do continue to be very protective against severe illness and death. And we are excited to help facilitate folks in Thurston County being able to access all of the vaccines that are recommended to them. But again, we're still awaiting DOH guidance before we would be able to move forward as a county. The other major element that we've been tracking, in addition to our local case counts and hospitalizations, which have been downtrending and positive, downtrending and are overall going in a positive direction, is we have been watching the BA.2 variant. So there is some lag time between when a sample is collected and when sequencing results for that sample are available. And what we've found is that in Washington State, for the week ending March 12th, approximately a little bit over 28% of those specimens have tested positive for the BA.2 subvariant, which is the subvariant of Omicron. In terms of what that means for us, we have seen overall, although our rate of decline has slowed, we continue to see lower levels of COVID-19 transmission than we've seen previously, and we're continuing to monitor. Different communities that have been affected by this subvariant have had different responses in their overall community COVID-19 transmission. So thinking about South Africa, where the BA.2 variant didn't have a significant increase in cases, versus Denmark, where a lot of their surge was driven by the BA.2 subvariant, to other countries that saw a second wave post Omicron that's been attributed to the BA.2 variant. I think key things to know about this subvariant are that while the WHO has determined that it's likely more infectious than the BA.1 variant, we don't have any, there hasn't been a safety signal that disease severity or deaths are impacted, but we're continuing to monitor that as well. And with that, I'm open to any questions you might have. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you. Questions, Commissioner Edwards?
Yes, and I don't know if this would be Kurt or the doctor. On the second page of the briefing paper, it has a couple of columns there, total breakthrough cases in the month and running total breakthrough cumulative. What does that end column mean on the cumulative portion? It says 11,541, and the total running is 45,000. So am I to take away from that about 1/4 of our cases are breakthrough cases?
So while the vaccines are extremely protective against severe illness and death, with some of the newer variants, including Omicron, the protection against infection is lower. So yes, the total, that 11,000 number is the total cumulative breakthrough cases. The way that's determined is that it's a positive case in someone who's fully vaccinated. Is the definition that we've been using to populate that column.
Okay, so that's about a quarter of the cases. So is that something we're going to continue to follow as well, I take it? I'm just curious if it's going to stay about a quarter or if it eventually builds up to half or what. So that's just an interesting column. Thank you.
Yeah, I think the only thing that I would add is that when we're interpreting that column, one of the key things to think about is the percentage of folks that are fully vaccinated. So the majority of our county is fully vaccinated, and yet folks who are fully vaccinated only make up a quarter of new infectious cases, cumulative over time.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Menser, questions?
Dr. A, you said that on the booster, Thurston County will be waiting on Department of Health guidance. Is that true of private? Like if somebody got their vaccination not from Thurston County but from, say, Kaiser or somewhere else, will they need to? Would those private providers also be waiting for this DOH guidance? So everybody will be in a holding pattern, or is it just folks that are looking to come to Thurston County Public Health?
You know, that's a good question. My understanding at this point in time is that when there's a provider agreement, because we receive our vaccine from the Washington State Department of Health, that provider, as part of the provider agreement, we would be, which is the way many pharmacies and healthcare providers receive their vaccines. We would be waiting for DOH approval and guidance for that next step.
So if I understand your answer, that's going to be pretty much across the board because all these different recipients of vaccine have these agreements with DOH.
So yes, so the vast majority have vaccine provider agreements with the Washington State Department of Health, although there are federal vaccination programs as well. This is a new development, and of course we'll be collaborating with our state partners to formalize and finalize that guidance so that we can support all of the vaccine providers in our county in terms of ensuring that everyone is on the same page regarding these boosters.
Weren't the federal program recipients mainly pharmacies? Was that right? Am I remembering that right? Or was it wider than that?
So there is a federal pharmacy program, and there historically has been a program for federally qualifying clinics in terms of vaccination, in terms of vaccine. Those would be kind of the two main areas where we've historically had that.
And then when our supply is ready to go for the public that qualifies, there'll be a press release or some sort of notification?
Yes, that's correct. And I will update our standing orders.
Thank you.
I have a follow-up question to what Commissioner Menser was asking. Is there going to be any, will the ones who are connected with the federal program, instead of the state like us, are they going to receive maybe vaccines sooner than us, later than us? Is there going to be any coordination on that end?
So this recommendation isn't tied to vaccine provision. In terms of the supply chain for vaccine right now is good. Our partners are not experiencing shortages in terms of actual vaccine supply. Really, the issue. Really, it's just the clarification piece on when each individual group, would be able to provide the booster that the FDA has included in the EUA.
Okay, thank you. Okay, if there are no more additional questions, County Manager,
No, Madam Chair, thank you.
Assistant County Manager. Okay, we'll move on. Thank you, Dr. A. Thank you, Kurt.
Thank you.
To homeless strategies, and I see Keely Marino.
Yes, good morning, Commissioners. Keely Marino with Public Health and Social Services. A very brief update for you this morning. Our request for proposals for this year's round of funding closes this Friday, so we look forward to receiving those applications and moving forward with awarding various projects in the coming months. Regional Housing Council news, we have moved to holding 2 meetings per month. Rather than just one 90-minute meeting, there's now currently a 1-hour meeting, a working meeting on the second Wednesday of every month. And on the 4th Wednesday of every month, we'll have a 2-hour more formal meeting ongoing. And then in direct homeless response strategies, I have word that the Department of Transportation, WashDOT, has really started cracking down on encampments on the right-of-ways. I know that there's a camp that has been notified that they'll be cleaned that actually is on the City of Olympia property. So just expect a lot more movement from those encampments, which of course may mean more individuals wandering about looking for new places to relocate to. So just we'll keep tabs on that. I'm meeting with Kim Conrad, the City of Olympia's coordinator today, to get a little bit more information. So if there's anything that I will let you know if there's anything of concern that is coming up for us regarding that. And that's it for today.
Thank you. Keely, really quick, do you mind giving an update on the 100,000 that the RHC decided to split and that it's going to be coming back?
Yes. So, and please correct me if I misspeak in any way. So the Board of County Commissioners voted to redistribute the $100,000 in 1277 funds that was originally designated to or recommended to go to Community Action Council for rapid rehousing. The Regional Housing Council decided to split that $100,000 evenly between 2 projects that are already receiving 1277 funds, one being the Family Support Center for their hotel program, and the other half to Olympia Mutual Aid Partners for their hotel program.
Thank you. Okay, with that, I'll open it up for questions. Thank you, Keely. Questions, Commissioner Edwards?
No questions, thank you.
Questions, Commissioner Menser?
No, thank you.
County Manager, I saw your hand up.
Madam Chair, I really don't have a question, maybe following up on the report that Keely stated on the Regional Housing Council related to that. We have been working with the City of Olympia staff and developing a framework for any local agreement with the City of Olympia related to the home funds. That has been a little bit of a back and forth, and in fact, we are going to have a meeting where Commissioner Mejia will be attending on behalf of the county, as she is sitting on the Regional Housing Council. And that meeting is scheduled for March 11th, I believe, is a Monday, let me check. April 11th?
Sorry, that is a Monday.
So April 11th, 4 in the afternoon, where representatives from the City of Olympia, we're going to work through the details of the interlocal agreement. I'm particularly optimistic that we'll get to an agreement on that. It seems to be a good framework. There is still a couple of items that need to be agreed upon with the City of Olympia, but I'd just like to give the board an update that is moving forward. And at some point, hopefully soon, we'll bring that interlocal agreement for a formal approval by the Board of County Commissioners. Thank you.
Thank you.
I did remember one other thing. I just wanted to extend my gratitude to the folks who were able to, so Commissioner Menser, Commissioner Mejia, and County Manager Ramiro Chavez for attending the Homeless Hero Award ceremony on Monday. It was really special. sweet recognition of frontline staff workers in the homeless crisis response system. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Keely. Okay. With that, we will move on to the review of the Board of County Commissioners draft agenda for our meeting of March 29th, 2022. So we'll call the meeting to order at 2 p.m. The Pledge of Allegiance to be led by Commissioner Edwards, approval of the Tuesday, March 29th, 2022 agenda, and the approval of the board meeting minutes for March 22nd, 2022. Any questions, comments on that?
No.
No.
With that, we'll have a presentation, and it's going to be the proclamation for Child Abuse Prevention Month.
Yes, Madam Chair, Gretchen Fowler is going to be presenting this proclamation before you, and I believe she has already aligned some guests. They will be attending this afternoon. I don't know if that's going to be via Zoom or in person. Gretchen?
I think Shelley Willis is planning to be in person. I had hoped to be in person, but I have to be at an oral surgery appointment like right after. So I don't, unfortunately, timing wise, think I'm going to have to be over in the office on Zoom.
Okay,
So
sounds good. We'll work it through that. Thank you.
okay.
Thank you, Gretchen. Questions?
No questions.
Okay. Thank you. And then Gretchen, if possible, I think it would be good if we can provide an overview this afternoon about our partners meeting yesterday. I thought the discussion was really good and kind of how the focus is child abuse for this year. Okay.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, with that, we'll move on for the opportunity for the public to address the board. County Manager.
Yes, you may receive public testimony this afternoon. Citizen provided a written testimony overnight as to what he's planning to provide, I believe, oral testimony this afternoon. This is related to the overall facility projects the county has in the plans. So you may receive testimony on that. Other than that, I really don't have any other feedback.
Okay, then we'll move on to County Manager's update.
As a result of last week's public testimony, I don't have anything to follow up.
Okay. With that, we'll move on to consent items A through E. Long consent item list today. With that, we'll move on to 3A, Lake Lawrence Regatta application.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. You reviewed this item last week, and this is a yearly request where the board will approve an application for the Seattle Inboard Racing Association to hold a race event in Lake Lawrence from April 23rd, 2022 and April 24th, 2022. Their application has been reviewed, the fee has been paid, and the Sheriff's Office is the one to provide assistance to this event. I believe under Sheriff Brady is here to answer any particular questions related to this item.
Thank you. Questions, Commissioners? Commissioner Edwards?
Just a very minor technical issue. It refers to from April 23rd, 2022 to April 24th, 2022.
We just tied in the dates.
Yeah, I mean, those two dates, because what does that mean? You have to quit at the stroke of midnight? I mean, I can imagine somebody coming forward or something.
So April 23 and 24, 2022.
Yeah.
Well, we'll fix that. Thank you.
Okay.
Questions, Commissioner Menser?
No, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, our next item is the transfer of ownership of 2 donated canines to the Sheriff's Office.
Thank you, Madam Chair. You also reviewed this item last week. As a matter of background, the Thurston County Sheriff's Deputies Association and Foundation is a nonprofit which receives donations from the community to support the Sheriff's Office K-9 program. The foundation used this donated funds to purchase 2 canine to replace the upcoming retiring 2 canine dogs. Those are Dexter and Jax, I believe. And the foundation has purchased a 19-month-old and a 20-month-old German Shepherds, and they will be donated to the Sheriff's Office. The Sheriff's Office is planning to have a retirement of those two current K9 units in August. And I just had a conversation with the Sheriff's Office. They will be coming in person for you to give the board the opportunity to say thank you to the service to the K9 that will be retiring. This donation requires approval by the board, and Under Sheriff Brady is here to add additional perspective on this.
Anything? Go ahead.
Yeah, thanks for having me this morning, commissioners. I think Romero covered it very well, and we talked briefly about it last week. We're looking forward to the opportunity to train these two new dogs. They should be ready to go here within a week or so, and we look forward to get them out there and get them working. And the other two partners, Jax and Dexter, will keep working through the summer, and we'll retire them the end of August. So we're looking forward to having Bowie and Igo, our two new dogs that will be coming on board.
Thank you. Commissioner Edwards?
No questions, thank you.
Commissioner Menser?
Who did you say is coming to the?
Louis and I go.
No, they will be coming, Dexter and Jax, I believe, in August to formally retire from the K9 unit. And the sheriff deputy who's handling, they will be present as well.
At that time in the future?
Yeah, that time, this year in August.
Okay.
That's when I believe is the time of retirement.
Oh, okay, good.
It's not till August. I got so excited. I thought I was going to.
Well, I was gonna say, like, if that's happening, we
No,
should take
no.
this off the consent so that we can.
No, it's in August when the unit is gonna come, when formally they're gonna be retiring the two K9 units, Dexter and Jax. Is that correct, Mr. Undersheriff?
I believe that was the plan, and we can certainly here in the next few weeks, once Bowie and Igo are certified, we would be more than happy to get them over there to the office so you guys can meet our two new dogs.
Sorry if I misspoke.
Don't call me unit county manager.
Sorry.
They're raising all of our hopes over here. Okay, thank you, Ray. Any questions on that?
No questions, thank you.
No, good.
Okay, we'll move on. Thank you, Ray.
Good,
To public. Did someone say commission? Did I miss something?
No, I just said thank you, Undersheriff.
Okay, sorry. Okay, our next item is Public Works, a resolution reclassifying position 34R00941.
You reviewed this item last week as well, commissioners, and this is a request from Public Works to reclassify our position. This position is currently vacant, and the request is to reclassify the civil engineer position to a senior civil engineer position. As when positions are becoming vacant, there's always a good practice to reassess how that position fits within the overall mission of the departments and offices. And in this particular case, the traffic engineering operations group can certainly use a higher level civil engineer that can perform the duties of that office. This particular request increased the salary from $8,256 a month to $9,064 a month. It's just about $808 a month for 10% increase. And at this point, the department is planning to cover with the current budget allocations under the road fund. These positions are not funded by the general fund, and the department is not requesting additional budget authority.
Thank you. Questions, Commissioner Edwards?
No questions, thank you.
Commissioner Menser?
Is this a spot where, like, a couple different folks have advocated, like, to have like a built-in ladder where like you don't, so that the departments don't have to keep reclassifying back and forth depending on who they hire. I mean, if you have sort of that two-tiered position, then they can find the right person. That person might be a younger person, you know, and then or depending on who they find, the structure's there for that versus this kind of back and forth reclassifying?
Yes, thank you. That's a good point, Commissioner. That's providing the structure that is not an automatic, promotion, if that's the right word, but certainly provides a career ladder that better suits those younger engineers who come into the department. So it's twofold, addressing the current need of the department as well as providing that career ladder, as you stated.
And that's something that we can think about with our study that we're doing with classification.
Yes, and in fact, one of the areas of the class and comp will be looking at all the engineering positions as a whole. But, yeah.
Okay. I have no questions. So we'll move on to item D, which is the reappointment to the Historic Commission.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. The board discussed this particular reappointment of Mr. Ken Balsley to the Historic Commission as District 2 representative, and the board agreed to bring this item for formal action. This particular term for Mr. Balsley will be from May 31st, 2022 to May 31st, 2025. And again, this is a reappointment. Mr. Balsley already serves in the Historic Commission.
Questions, comments, Commissioner Edwards?
No questions, thank you.
Nope,
Commissioner Answer?
nope, good.
Okay. With that, we'll move on to the approval of the voucher list, and this is for the week of March 14th, 2022. Are there any questions on that?
No, ma'am.
No questions.
We'll move on to department items, and there's only one department item. Whoa, what happened? Not complaining, but very rare occurrence. Okay, and it's from Community Planning and Economic Development, and it's the 2022 Heritage Grant Program.
Yeah, you also reviewed this item, Commissioners, and this is for you to consider awarding the 2022 Heritage grants. The Heritage Grant Program was open for submittal applications on August 10th, 2021 to September 22nd, 2021. A total of 6 applications were received, totaling 29,000 of grant funding requests. The Historic Commission members recommended that Board of County Commissioners fund all 6 projects, a total of 29,000. The recipients of the 2022 Heritage Grant will be the City of Lacey, related to the Lacey Museum, the City of Tenino, Olympia Heritage Commission, Olympia Historical Society, the Bigelow House Museum, South Thurston County Historical Society, and the Rochester Citizens Group related to the Sweet Home improvements. And Jeremy Davis is here to add additional perspective to answer any questions that commissioners may have.
Madam Chair, I don't have anything to add to the County Manager's excellent summary of the Heritage Grants for this year.
Thank you. Questions, Commissioner Edwards?
No questions, thank you.
Commissioner Menser?
Nope.
No questions for me either. Thank you, Jeremy.
Thank you.
Okay, so with that, we'll move on to our sending items, which commissioners will report on board work sessions. Item B, the county manager will review the Board of County Commissioners schedule for the week of March 29th, and then we will adjourn. At 3 p.m. or shortly thereafter, we will be starting our public hearing, and it's a public hearing regarding ordinance to amend Chapter 2.002.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Chapter 2.02 is related to the board holding regular and special meetings. This is an ordinance that has been in the works for at least a little over a year, where the board has provided perspective. You held a public hearing probably 12 months ago, and at that point, the board decided just to put a little bit on hold this particular action. And early in the year, the board requested to bring this item again and for you to have another public hearing, since the last one is a little bit dated. So this particular ordinance authorizes the board, includes the alternate locations, hold regular quarterly meetings outside of the county seat, and also outlines the how they locations and the frequency of when the board meets. And I will outline in more detail the this afternoon as a matter of my staff report prior to the public hearing. As anything, nothing is static, commissioners. Last week, the governor enacted into law the engrossed substitute House Bill 1329. And 1329 is related to the Open Public Meetings Act that includes additional description as to how virtual meetings could be conducted, and also outlines requirements as to when the public provide public testimony, both early and in writing. So as a result of this public hearing this afternoon, you may consider closing the public hearing, but I will ask that I will probably change the current ordinance to include the new requirements of House Bill 1329. And I will bring that matter for your consideration, obviously, before you take a final action. So it's just, as the timing is such that we need to include the new requirements of House Bill 1329 to be a little more prescriptive. I have started conversations with Elizabeth on this, and I think I have an option as to how we need to address that. Nothing significant. It's just a way to be aligned to the new law related to Open Public Meetings Act. So the reason that I'm stating this, obviously I cannot change the ordinance that is going through the public hearing this afternoon, but I just want to give you a perspective that perhaps the final ordinance that you may be considering may be a little bit different than the one you will be receiving public testimony this afternoon.
Questions, Commissioner Edwards?
Yes. Under this new 1329, do we have options that we can pick, or is it mandates that we should follow?
So there is a few options.
Oh, there is, okay.
Really, it is related to the virtual meetings,
Okay.
as to how a board member, for instance, can attend a virtual meeting outside of an emergency. Right now, that is under the OPMA, and the emergency allows for virtual attendance for any commissioner or any legislative body to conduct those meetings. This allows to have the same strategies outside of an emergency. That is the fundamental difference. And one piece of this new legislation is providing oral and written testimonies before the board takes a final action. So that is something that I need to work as to how that can be added to the proposed ordinance. You already have allow the public to give you verbal testimony, and that the current law before this it was an option. Here it becomes a requirement, which we already exercise. The question that I'm trying to find out how this new requirement applies when the board perhaps sometimes takes an action during the week outside of the Tuesday 2 o'clock meeting. And that's where I need to work in some of the logistical elements of this new law, if that makes sense.
Okay, I guess from my perspective, I've often wondered, when we're talking about set days, times, or whatever, as to when the board could have meetings, does that mean a specific set time or a specific set block of times between, 8 and 5 for an 8 a.m. and 5 a.m., or does it specifically say 2 o'clock? So I just have a question in that regard and how this might tie in.
No, this particular new bill encourages the legislative authorities to enact on an ordinance, which that's what you're considering to do, to define when you meet. So this doesn't define whether it's a block of time or the specific dates.
Doesn't give us any more
Doesn't
clarity
give any
on that
more
previous question that we kind of batted around.
And you have
That's
the
what you're
latitude.
saying, I haven't read it, but.
Yeah, that's the latitude that you have. So this doesn't address that in any specifics. So the resolution related to the public hearing today addresses that, and this is not in conflict with the ordinance this as part of the public hearing. There's a lot of nuances in here, in addition to the Board of County Commissioners, it requires all the boards and commissions to post agendas 24 hours in advance, and as well as post minutes, similar to what we do. So I'm working with the clerk of the board to send an announcement to all the boards and commissions that this is a new requirement that everybody has to follow. So that is some of the key changes.
Chair.
Let me go to Commissioner Mensah, and then I'll come back to you, Commissioner Edwards. Commissioner Mensah?
No, I'm good. Go ahead.
Okay, go ahead, Commissioner Edwards.
We're having a public hearing on this today, but it sounds like there's still quite a bit of question. Do we need to have a public hearing today? I know we set a public hearing for today. Do we need to follow through with that, or would it make more sense to tell the public, we've got this new wrinkle that's been thrown in with a new piece of legislation, and until we get how it fits, maybe we should postpone the hearing. That's all. I'm
Maybe an option that you could have is to continue the public hearing. Hold the public hearing this afternoon, provide testimony based on the ordinance, and then you may not close the public hearing. You can continue the public hearing. When the new ordinance becomes available, then you hold another one if that is the desire of the board. Remember this, as you may recall, you don't have to have a public hearing on this action. This is a desire of the board to have that.
okay. If we are going to have it, I just wanted to cover the whole everything that's new as well, I guess.
This really just came to.
Yeah, I mean,
it's Friday.
This kind of
Last Friday.
This is government at work.
Yeah. So
Making sausage. So
I just want to make sure that the board is aware of what changing.
Is there any problem with not having this hearing today and doing one hearing with all the information at the same time? That's all.
Canceling the public hearing, I mean.
I don't want to get in violation of something.
I don't think you can cancel that, and we can probably provide the notice, but it may be somebody already lined up to provide testimony that we may not be able to reach with the notice of cancellation. That's the only thing.
Okay.
I mean, you can cancel the public hearing this afternoon.
No, we can just have another one, I think. Maybe simpler, or a continuation. Could you ask that question to council if we can just continue, and that's no problem?
I have touched base with her.
Okay.
That is an option. But
Okay.
She's here.
What did you say, Ramiro? I'm sorry.
Elizabeth is here if she would like to have an additional perspective on this.
Elizabeth?
Whether closing the public hearing or continuing with the public hearing.
While she's getting, Elizabeth, while you're getting oriented, I remember something from the training I went to on not OPMA, but on Robert's rules and all that at the WASAC conference, that was like there was some special requirement, if you continue a hearing, you have to delineate the day that it's gonna be taken up, I think. You can't just continue it like, if I remember that right.
I think you're correct, Commissioner Mensah, on continuing a hearing. You do have to have a time, date, and place so that people at the meeting know where to go, and then additional notice would happen.
So it's really not any easier than just setting a second one. Separate.
So that's really, for me, suggestion will be to close the public hearing and take testimony, because it will be good to provide receive testimony on the rest of it.
Mm-hmm.
This is the addition to this is what I call is more technical in nature to address the new requirements. But fundamentally, I believe what the current resolution ordinance that you have before the public hearing, that's really the core of when and how you meet.
Madam Chair.
Go ahead, sir.
So could we at least include in the information that we're providing today on this packet, could we include that 1329 information, or is it? So the public would,
A copy of the bill?
yeah, would that be,
We can make copies this afternoon available to us.
yeah, make it available for the public and for us? I haven't seen it.
And I'm planning to walk through
Okay.
this afternoon.
Okay.
So my presentation perhaps is going to be longer than the actual public hearing.
Okay.
Commissioner Menzer, do you have your hand up?
Well, no, I just kind of feel like if we don't have anyone to testify, it'd be kind of nice to just see if there's anyone here to testify. If not, keep the presentation for the next time. If there is, then that's fine. We can go through the process, but anyway, I'm good with whatever. I mean, it's 6 of one, half a dozen the other to me.
Okay. Are we good on this topic?
New wrinkle.
Okay. So with that, that would end our Tuesday, March 29th agenda. Okay, next, it's the review of the Board of County Commissioners draft agenda for our meeting on April 5th. We would call the meeting to order at 2 p.m., the Pledge of Allegiance to be led by Vice Chair Menzer, approval of the Tuesday, April 5th, 2022 agenda, and approval of the board meeting minutes from March 29th, 2022. At 2:05, we would have a presentation by Public Works, and it's an introduction of new Public Works employees.
Yeah, the Director of Public Works, Jennifer Walker, will introduce new employees to have it join as the Thurston County government, as particularly Public Works. So.
Questions, comments?
No questions, thank you.
No.
We'll move on for the opportunity for the public to address the board and then county manager's update.
Next week, I will not be in the office in this meeting, nor the Assistant County Manager, Robin Campbell. So Jennifer Walker will cover for me, the Public Works Director. If there's any follow-up as a result of this afternoon's public testimony, either I coordinate with Jennifer that response, or maybe we can delay the response until I come back on the following meeting. So as also you will see, this meeting is a little bit short as well. So so I just want to give you a heads up that I will not be part of this meeting next week.
Thank you. Okay. So with that, we'll move on to consent items, and it's only the auditor voucher list for the week of March 21st, 2022. And once that comes out, the amount will be listed on there. And then we only have one department item on this agenda as well, and it's from Public Health and Social Services. And it's a memorandum of understanding for community development block grant entitlement funds.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As I believe the board is aware of how the community development block grant, the CBDG money is managed and distributed here in the county. The county qualified as an urban county quite some time. And in order to qualify under urban county, we need to have the cities of Rainier, Yelm, Tenino, Lacey, and Tumwater, as well as the town of Yokota. That makes up the qualification of urban county here in Thurston County. The city of Olympia is not listed on this particular effort because they receive a direct allocation from the federal government as they have their own urban city classification. The board will have been working on this. It has been in a rotation basis. What that means is 1 year, the allocation that is just about $1.1 million from the CDBG entitlement funding from the Housing and Urban Development goes on a yearly basis. This year is including the County and the South County cities as to how that allocation will be awarded to particular projects in the South County. The board approved that particular memorandum of understanding back in February of 2022. It outlines the terms and conditions of how we're going to be issuing those recommendations that eventually the Board of County Commission will have to approve. So this item before you is a similar memorandum of understanding. In this case, it's with the cities of Lacey and Tumwater, where it outlines when they're going to be going through the distribution of this funding. This MOU, the next round in 2023, will be the city of Lacey. In 2024 will be the city of Tumwater. And each of those recommendations the cities do will have to come back to the Board of County Commissioners for final approval. That is the background related to this item. Jacinda?
Thank you, County Commissioner Jacinda Stelchis with Public Health and Social Services. I don't have anything else to add, but am available if there are any questions.
Thank you. Questions? Commissioner Edwards?
No questions, thank you.
Commissioner Munzer?
No, thank you.
No questions for me either. Thank you, Jacinda. Okay, with that, we'll go on to our standing items. Commissioners will report on board work sessions and assigned committee meetings. The county manager will review the Board of County Commissioners schedule for the week of April 5th. And we will adjourn. We have 2 public hearings that we will start at 3 or shortly thereafter. The first one from Public Works, it's a public hearing regarding 2022 update of the drainage design and erosion control manual.
Thank you, Madam Chair. You received briefings related to the proposed changes on the drainage design and erosion control manual. And this is related to the associated with the Phase 2 municipal stormwater permit the county receives. Staff provided you with the specifics on a couple of briefings, and the next step in the process is for you to receive public testimony related to the proposed changes. The next public hearing is also with Public Works, and this is related to implementing new changes on the resolution related to the speed limits in county roadways. The board has been engaged as to how you, exercising legislative authority, changes the speed limits across the county. With this particular proposal, that is includes professional judgment within the full decision-making process before the board takes a final action. And those are the 2 public hearings scheduled for next week, 3 in the afternoon or soon thereafter.
Okay. Questions?
No questions, thank you.
Okay. And no questions from me either. Thank you, Shannon. Okay. After that, we'll have another public hearing from Public Works, and it's repeal resolution 12083 and adopting a new resolution updating criteria for establishing or revising speed limits on county roads.
Yeah, Madam Chair, sorry, I just covered that as well.
Excuse me?
I just covered that as well. I covered both public hearings, sorry.
Okay, good. I didn't hear that second part. You always got me when you do that.
Sorry, sorry, I went one step ahead of you. My apologies.
Okay, so with that, we'll go to proclamations and awards.
Good morning, Amy Davis, Clerk of the Board. The proclamation for Child Abuse Prevention Month will be presented this afternoon. The version for this afternoon does have a couple of updated numbers for the year of 2020. Shelley Willis from Family Support Services and Public Health will be in attendance to say a few words and accept the proclamation. That is all I have.
Thank you. Questions, Commissioner Edwards?
No questions, thank you.
Commissioner Menser? Okay.
No, I'm just looking at this. April 1st, we're supposed to work.
Yes.
All right, that makes sense.
Okay. We'll move to advisory boards and commissions.
The 3 applications from Glenn Schwerno, Chris Dolman, and Celeste Winther for the Agriculture Advisory Committee are included. If there's no new direction for these, I'll move on to the next one. So in your packet is an application from Sheila Fay for reappointment to the Emergency Medical Services Council. There was some confusion, and her term actually doesn't expire until mid-July. So we will plan to just put a hold on this for now in case we receive any new applications and address that at that time. If there are no questions, that's all I have.
Thank you. Questions? Commissioner Edwards?
No questions.
Commissioner Menzer?
How can we recruit for the Fair Board? There's a lot of spots. I'm just wondering if anybody can think about ways that we could, it seems like, I don't know, that just kind of surprises me. I would think there'd be a lot of interest in that board, and I'm surprised to see so many vacancies. So I'm gonna think about ways to maybe publicize that, my outlets.
And we can work with Amy on figuring out how to do that, and Teresa, to see if we can get some more people on. Yeah.
Okay. So with that, we'll move into our PIO check-in.
Good morning, Commissioners. Megan Porter, Public Information Supervisor. Assistant County Manager Robin Campbell and I will be presenting on the county's electronic signature policy to the Finance Conference of the Washington State Association of County Auditors this Thursday. Apparently, most other counties don't have that policy yet, so we do, and they want us to come talk about it. So we'll be doing that. Work is still moving forward on the atrium. We took a field trip out there last Thursday, and the frame for the new commissioners' chambers is up. We will have adequate space for the needs of the BoCC and Board of Health. It's a nice space. So I just want to let people know there is a fake county LinkedIn account that we're working on trying to figure out how we can get removed. So if anyone's looking for the official county LinkedIn site, it's called Thurston County Government, and it has the county logo. We're also going to post about this on Facebook and Twitter just to make sure people can find it if they're looking for it. And then I'm really excited to announce our new public information specialist will be starting this Friday. I will bring him in next Tuesday to introduce him to you guys, next Tuesday morning. And he will go right into working on the website redesign project. So we got lots of work for him. Pending any questions, that's what I have.
Questions? Commissioner Edwards?
No questions, thank you.
Questions, Commissioner Menzer?
No.
I didn't know people still use LinkedIn.
Some people do.
Yeah. Some of us old timers do.
Or don't.
So with that, we'll move on. Thank you, Megan. We'll move on to our legislative update.
I just included a report. I'm not going to walk you through that report you're familiar with. And this is just the cleanup based on what the governor has already signed into law. And last week, I provided you with an overview, just like all the bills. And if I come across, at some point, I think it's going to be a report as to what the actual governor has signed. And I will bring this back for your attention. But I do like to follow up on a specific bill that Commissioner Mejia highlighted last week. And this is related to engross second substitute Senate bill, Senate Bill 5847. And this bill 5847 relates to the public service loan forgiveness. The Public Service Loan Forgiveness, also known as the PSLF, is a federal program which allows borrowers employed full-time in a public service job who has made at least 120 qualifying payments for certain loans to be forgiven by the federal government. 5847 really doesn't change that requirement from the federal program. What it does is requires, but we provide enough notification for those employees who might be benefiting from this particular federal program. So this 5847 requires the Office of Financial Management They must develop a program for state agencies to certify employment for the purposes of this program by July 1st, 2023. Also, the Office of Financial Management must work with certain state agencies, nonprofits, and local government entities to develop a plan for a statewide initiative to increase access and remove barriers to access the program, the federal program, and this needs to be in place by December 1st, 2024. That is what the 5847 does. I believe Commissioner Mejia asked how that is going to be impacting the county. I reached out to our Human Resources Director, Maria Ponte. She did an analysis of the particular bill. There is not really an impact. We're going to be providing information to employees who might be qualifying for that, for this program. Also, we're going to be in the process, whomever the employee initiates this program will be able to certify the employment, so in order for them to go ahead and exercise this particular option. They have already received some questions, so we'll be working to have Thurston Insider Ps with our PIOs, just to make sure that all the employees have the opportunity to read what this new bill is going to do. And just no impact to our HR department, and this is a good opportunity for us to even inform employees who might be qualifying under this federal program. That's the report on this bill, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Questions?
None for me.
No questions, thank you.
I do have a follow-up to that, County Manager, just a suggestion. I know the state posts, you know, this as a benefit for their employees when you know, on the job search site, when you go under their benefits, it says, you know, that the employees are qualified for this. I think it would be great if the county can do that as well. Just say, you know, that this is available for any employee that's applying to the county, listing it as a benefit as well.
Good suggestion. Thank you.
Okay, if there are not any additional questions, we'll move on to briefing, public hearing, decisions pending. We have two. The first one is solid waste contract operations, maintenance, transport, and disposal.
Thank you, Madam Chair. You received, this has been a long process in related to the proposed contract, related to the operations, maintenance, and transport and disposal of solid waste here in the Thurston County. The contract has been a matter of, the whole process really started in 2018, as you're aware, and the board had many executive sessions related to the specifics of this contract. This contract was the source of the public hearing that we held last Tuesday on March 22nd. You received public testimony. The majority of the public testimony, if not all, was in support of this contract, and most of the public testimony was urging the contract, the board, to go ahead and authorize this new contract with Republic Services. Soon after the meeting was completed, you received two pieces of information that is included in your packet. One is a letter from LeMay, Harold LeMay Enterprises. I hope you had the opportunity to read that. And just they're wishing the best, it is my interpretation, to Thurston County, and they hope the terms and conditions outlined in the proposed contract with the Republic become a reality in the short and long terms. And also at this point, they're saying they will not be taking any further action related to their issues at the beginning. Also, you had another letter that was submitted up to the public hearing. This was from Green Mountain Technologies, which also reiterated the public testimony that Mr. Richard Langendon provided to you on that testimony. So the next step in the process is the board to authorize bringing an AIS for you to take in a formal action to approve the contracts, and delegate the signature authority of those contracts to the county manager. As soon as the board provides that direction, we'll bring an AIS. We have everything ready for your consideration. But before that, staff from Public Works is here to answer any particular questions related to the public hearing you held last week.
Thank you. Any questions, comments? Commissioner Edwards, we'll start with you.
I guess if I had a suggestion at some point in there, I'd make sure that the public knows, I don't know, the magnitude of this contract, I guess, the length of time proposed and the dollar amount. So.
We'll have an actual news release related to this item ready when the board is ready to take an action.
Okay.
That will specify, you know, the magnitude, the significance, and as well as the value, I believe, of this contract.
And is it possible that we could have something in there that basically clarifies there won't be any, I guess we can never say there won't be any rate increases, but we're not anticipating any changes in service or rates immediately with signing or at this time, or so the public doesn't feel something's going to be changing here all of a sudden.
We could find some language.
I'm just figuring out the way that this is going to be developed now over the next year or so.
Because any changes related to what I call the tipping fees, any changes requires a separate legislative action. So we can probably state in the news release, as I believe Jennifer stated last week during their presentation, that what it does is, since we're receiving a significant savings on
that'd be the key. Yeah.
On the current contracts, at this point, you know, the tipping fees may remain at the same level. But also, we don't want to move one step ahead of a potential legislative action the board may take down the road. So we'll have to work a fine line, but certainly we can highlight the savings of this new contract versus the current conditions that we have. My suggestion.
Yeah, even how long this has been worked on by staff, and you know, a lot went into this.
Yep.
And the public should know something, because they don't see much about what we're doing. They don't see the complications that we're up against.
I think it's going to be a long news release, but I think it's going to be worthwhile, really highlighting the history, where we are, and the benefits and the length. I hope Megan is taking notes of this.
Yeah. County Manager, may I say a few things?
Madam Chair?
Go ahead, Jennifer.
Thank you. Jennifer Walker, Public Works Director. I would also point the board to the frequently asked questions document that we prepared in advance of the public hearing, which we have posted. So there'll be some pieces of information that we can pull off of that as well. That speaks specifically to some of the items that Commissioner Edwards is bringing up.
Thank you. Okay. Commissioner Menzer, questions, comments?
No questions, no comments.
Okay, none for me either.
So with commissioners, with your concurrence, we'll bring an AIS. You will be considered taking a formal action to approve this contract, and the language will they delegate the signature authority to the county manager, and there will be an opportunity to celebrate this long journey. When do you expect to bring this item, Jennifer?
We'd like to bring it next Tuesday.
So that will be perfect, because you will be covering for me.
Exactly.
How long has it been that this has been in the works? 3 years?
Well,
4 years?
if when the board start taking official actions back in 2018, but the process probably started back in 2016, even before Jennifer came, and when I was transitioning from my previous position as a public works director to the county manager. We start beginning the conversations as to how we can better address this upcoming contract. So I think it's a long, long journey. And I have to really applaud Public Works staff on their diligence and really commitment to continue with the process. I believe that it's an extremely transparent process. I believe the result of this is not just transparency, but also the value added to the citizens of Thurston County. So kudos to you all.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you to the Public Works staff. Thank you to Steve and Wendy for having a smooth public hearing and also a smooth transition. I appreciate everything you did. With that, we'll be doing the AIS next Tuesday. So that takes care of that one. And so we'll move on to item number 2, ordinance to expand Board of Health members per RCW 7005.
Last week also you held a public hearing related to a proposal to expand the Board of Health. And this is related to state law that it was enacted on the 2021 legislative process. You received no public testimony related to the proposal. You heard from Jen Fetterman, prosecuting attorney, and some of the questions the board had last week. I did include a comment that we received in your packet, and I failed to mention this during the staff report last week, and this comment we received on March 18, 2022. Is the only written comment that we have received, and the comment states as follows: extending the Thurston County Board of Health to 8 or more members is a bad idea. Please don't do it. That's the extent of the comment. But I feel compelled to bring this comment to your attention just to make sure that I don't miss any opportunity for discussion. So I do request the board to give direction to bring an AIS for you to formally approve this particular ordinance as relates to the expansion of the Board of Health.
Can you respond to Mr. Lang that state law requires expansion? It doesn't seem like he understands that.
Yeah, we'll provide a response. Thank you.
Yes, I second what Commissioner Menster said. I think providing a response to Mr. Lang would possibly be appreciated by him.
The board strive to minimize the expansion based on the parameters provided by the new state law. I mean, I think that was, all three of us were focused on that.
Lovely, thank you.
But I'm good with setting the AIS on the.
So with your concurrence, I will bring this item on the 12th, April 12th.
Okay.
Thank you.
So April 12th, perfect. Okay, with that, we'll move on to commissioner items. The first item, it's 10:16. Do we want to take a break?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, so we'll go ahead, we're way ahead of schedule, so we'll go ahead and take a 15-minute break, and we'll be back at 10:31. Thank you. 10:31 a.m. We left off on commissioners' items. The first item is the 2022-2023 official dockets prioritization pre-discussion.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. The main point of conversation related to prioritizing the different items that you approved in relation to the comp plan amendment dockets as well as the development code dockets. The board approved, I believe, last week or so. So the next step in the process is to prioritize all those elements so Josh Cummins and his staff can start working on that. So and again, we have a briefing scheduled for tomorrow, Wednesday, March 30th at 1 in the afternoon from 1 to 3. What I'd like to probably touch base with the board this morning is just a process that I'd like to suggest. I have attached a list of the docket items, and also includes a rating sheet in that as well. So there's going to be two ratings for your consideration. One related to the comp plan amendment, and the other one for the development comp plan amendments. So each one will have 1 through, I know on the comp plan is, I think it's 1 through 9, the other one's 1 through, but it was 2 separate items in terms of priorities. So what I'd like to suggest to the board is for each board member to come with your priorities based on your perspective and rank 1 through so many into 2 different dockets. What I'd like to suggest the board not to use a single number, not to use a number 1, because a number 1 priority means not every item can be a high priority, and that may not necessarily help Josh and his staff to continue with the process. So that is my suggestion as to how perhaps we can streamline the conversation tomorrow with the board members, with the commissioners. And again, in your packet and the back side is a sheet that I will ask for each of the commissioners to come back tomorrow and just rank 1 through, how many items do we have on the comp plan? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1 through 9 on the first one, and 1 through how many on the other one?
18.
18. So, and again, 1 through 9 on the first table, and 1 through 18 on the second table. My suggestion at that point is we will average those scores the board, the commissioners will bring. If there is any deviations, if any for any particular reason, the average score comes on for instance, 2 number 2s or 2 number 3s, then the board will engage on a conversation as to how it can resolve that particular tie. That is my suggestion for you. I'm not asking you to highlight your priorities at this point. I just want to make sure that we have the opportunity to have a conversation with you just to outline the process for tomorrow's conversation.
So can I, questions, Commissioner Edwards?
No, I don't believe so. Thank you.
Questions, Commissioner Menzer?
No, I don't have questions. I mean, this is kind of how we did it last time, even better because we've got it all, got a nice sheet for us. But yeah, I mean, I feel like we debated the pros and cons in the terms of pretty thoroughly in terms of the commissioners on placing on the docket or preliminary docket or whatever. So I wasn't personally planning to try to debate, prioritization amongst the commissioners. I think we all have our kind of thoughts and we should just kind of amalgamate them. So I don't know if we need 2 hours tomorrow, but
yeah, probably not, but just give you enough time.
I'll work on this sheet and have it ready for you guys, and then you can just take it.
Yeah.
When do you need the sheet by? Tomorrow?
Just to come ready for the tomorrow afternoon at 1 p.m. I'm not asking you to do this right away now.
Okay, thank you.
Josh, any
Oh, Josh, sorry, go ahead.
That's okay. Thank you, commissioners. And I just wanted to add, we're living a Lean Six Sigma process improvement. So the docket process in the first place was one of our big projects that we entered into when the board created the Lean training process. And what we've seen is that we learn a little something new every time. And so the last time we did this form process, as Commissioner Mincer relayed, we didn't have this form. And so we took input from the Board of County Commissioners, created this form. You can see it's got the previous ranking, the percent complete by staff already, the staff time that it will take to continue to move the process forward, and then a spot for your board priority. Also, it's got the numbers for each one, the comp plan 1 through 9 and the development code 1 through 18. So if you aren't sure which number you're on, we've got that as well. So this is essentially, thank you. This is a living, continuous process improvement based on the Lean process that we started 3 or 4 years ago.
Okay. Thank you, Josh. So we all have some homework.
I do have one question here. On the ranking from last year,
Yeah,
where's number 1?
was completed.
Oh, it's completed and it's gone. Okay.
Yep, we only put the ones on there that are moving forward. The other ones that are complete, they're done. So we don't need to score them.
Okay. So no further questions or comments. We will be touching base on this tomorrow. Thank you, Josh. Okay.
Thank you.
Next item on our list is barn collapsing into Black River.
Yeah, this is an item that just came, at least to our attention last week. We received a somewhat of a report of an environmental issue by the state, Department of Ecology, as well as the fisheries, where there is they notice a property that has a shed, maybe at risk of falling into the Black River. This particular property just happens to be under the ownership of Thurston County, of the county. It is not a tax title property, it's fee property.
It's what property?
In fee. So, so the responsibility for us to do something with it relies on the county's responsibility. So I had a conversation with Patrick Soderberg in Art last week. I know that Patrick is here. He's going to show you a couple of telling pictures as to what the issues that we're dealing with. And this is really the result of the flooding that we had early in the year, which they have eroded the banks of this in front of this property, which has put this particular shed in jeopardy of falling into the Black River. So I included a series of emails in your packet, and truncated pictures doesn't give you really a clear understanding of the issue. So before I can walk you through what the suggestions as to how we need to move forward, maybe Patrick can share, or Art, share your screen and show some of the pictures that we have seen.
I'll turn things over to Patrick, I think. So, Patrick?
I'm unable to share my screen. I don't know. My settings don't allow me to share my screen.
It should be able to.
Now we can't have voice either.
Did you have to give him permission?
Hey, Art, can you share your screen? I believe there was an email that Patrick sent yesterday, including some pictures. I think those are very telling pictures.
Okay, let me get that really quickly then. Sorry for the delay.
While he's trying to get those pictures up, thank you, commissioners. I'm Patrick Soderberg with Public Health and Social Services in our Solid and Hazardous Waste Program. And on March 17th, we received a complaint regarding a shed that is falling into the Black River. And we received it from some kayakers going down the Black River. And so the pictures that we're trying to show you, or hopefully we can get up there, is from the perspective of the river. What we did is I looked up into geodata and found out that Thurston County owns the property where this shed is located. And we went out there with some public works staff and tried to assess what it would take to remove the shed completely and anything that has potentially fallen into the river at this point in time. When we went out there, we found out that the entire shed was filled up with styrofoam containers, and probably a good quarter of the structure itself is overhanging the river. We were able to go out there yesterday and remove approximately 500 of the styrofoam containers that were filling the building, and that was approximately 40 garbage bags filled with these styrofoam containers. So that was a good measure to take in order to, once the equipment gets out there, that should minimize what could potentially get into the river. We requested from Public Works to provide a cost estimate for the cleanup, and they believe that they could do it as early as this week for approximately $9,800. And so what we were requesting from the commissioners is to get direction on our proposed plan to resolve this complaint.
So what you hold on, stop right there, Art, please.
Okay.
So Commissioners, Patrick has coordinated with Public Works staff as to how we can quickly do this work, because I believe timing is of the essence. As you can tell, there's go back to the previous picture, Art.
Excuse me?
Can you go back to the previous picture where you see the river?
Okay, I will go back if I can figure this out. Hang on.
And there were a couple of options that we looked as to how we can conduct this particular work. Going with somewhat of a request for proposals, because this particular property is not under the custody of Public Works, under the custody of facilities. But the timing does not give us the opportunity as to how we need to address this matter quickly. And also what it does is we need to have a permit to work within the river. And Public Works already has that permit. And that Public Works seems to be the right outfit as to how we can probably address this particular issue. As Patrick stated, we have an estimate that includes time and materials from Public Works. And Jennifer Walker and Mike Lohman is here to walk you through. If you have any particular question related to this proposal, it's just about $9,800. I appreciate really the support from Public Works to help us resolve this matter, and again, include times and materials. How we're gonna be proposing to pay for this particular work. Early in the year, we received a grant from the Department of Ecology that really was addressing, to help us address the impacts of the flooding. And we used some of the grant, as you may recall, to pay for vouchers for disposal for those individuals in South County who were affected by the flood. We didn't exhaust this particular grant. The grant was for up to $50,000. So there is capacity that we can utilize this grant. I believe that we have already checked with the Department of Ecology, and this is an allowable cost. There is a 20% match that we need to require on this grant. So the impact to the county at this point will be just about $2,000 of the required match. We're going to be looking for alternatives as to how we can address the $2,000 match. Before this meeting, Robin stated perhaps we're going to be looking for some options. If not, is the general fund will probably have to be paying for the $2,000 match of the grant. So this is really an upcoming issue that came really to the surface, at least from my perspective, last week. I really applaud staff to be proactive and going out there and to start addressing the situation. And again, I appreciate the support from Public Works to help us mitigate this particular risk. Any questions?
Yes.
Mark, can you stop sharing your screen, please?
Okay.
So I can see the boardroom. Thank you. Thank you. Commissioner Edwards, go ahead.
The house in the background there, or barn, whatever that was, on the one picture, whose property is this on? Is it adjoining somebody's property and they're the landowners, or is that also part of our property? Is there some acreage there?
There's behind the house itself that you see in the background is a private property.
And how many acres does the county have of this property?
The size of this property?
Yeah.
I am not sure if I have that information.
I mean, why do we even have it? I'm wondering why, what's the county holding this for?
I really don't have the history as to how we own this property, Commissioner.
I was surprised to hear that we own this Riverside property, and I have asked all those questions. So as soon as I have answers, Commissioner, we will get them to you.
Yeah, okay. Okay, so, wait.
I think the laser focus of this item was to make sure that we address this particular item.
Yeah, but I mean, it's bringing to attention something else. What the heck are we doing with this property?
Well, if the board wants to, surplus it on that, will give us some time to bring back the history related to this property, and then
I'm kind of trying to figure out the why and where is this? I mean, I know where the Black River is, but where is this?
Whereabouts? Patrick,
Patrick has his hand up. Patrick, go ahead.
So the assessor's logbook on this property states that it was formerly owned by Drainage District Number 1. And there's no record of sale or anything like that in geodata or anything that we could track down other than that. This particular property is located where Waddell Creek and the Black River come together, which is right where the Black River goes under 128th Street Southwest in Little Rock. So it's approximately 3 parcels west of the gas station in Little Rock, if you're familiar with that area.
Okay, well, I'm obviously going to be wanting more information as time goes on, but I think our problem is that the styrofoam, to me, is the problem more than the building. It just looks like wood and stuff.
So in fact, yesterday, Patrick and staff went in and they bagged all the styrofoam.
But is it all the styrofoam?
Patrick, I think I believe pretty much everything is already contained. Is that right?
That's correct. There was approximately 500 of those styrofoam containers that we completely removed and bagged up. And then there was approximately 12 more in there that were wedged underneath the ceiling, if you want to call it, or the roof, and pinched into the side. And we were not able to get those 12 containers, which are approximately 5 inches by 5 inches by a foot long each.
I found the property on geodata if you want me to put it up for people to see.
That would be great.
I also just received a little more information. Apparently, according to our accounting system, the county acquired the property in 1991 using general fund to purchase it, and it is owned by Central Services.
But why?
I I haven't gotten that far yet. I'm getting the piecemeal. Just got this email.
Does Jeff know about this?
It's not tax title.
It is not tax
I know,
title
but-
property. It
but
is
he know
county
about this,
owned.
Other than not tax
No,
title.
he wouldn't. He's entrusted only tax title properties.
Well,
It's such a little random piece too.
I think we own a couple of other pieces. I think maybe this one.
Okay.
What's the
Um,
size then?
Yeah.
Of the stickers?
And then that's the property that Commissioner Edwards was asking about with the
Okay.
barn or the big building next that you can see in the background.
Well, there is apparently also either adjacent property with a building that is not right on the river, also owned by Central Services, where ER&R stores things.
Yep, these are all county properties.
Okay.
So we're going to learn a lot more about this, and
So is that one.
something back.
That one's county property too?
Seriously.
Okay.
Shows roads.
Art, can you guesstimate the size of the property in question based on what you've got there?
Let's see here. Somewhere down here, it's going to tell me how many acres. It is 0.55 acres.
Half an acre. Thank you.
Waterfront property, commissioners.
yeah, but I don't want it. And I don't want the county to have it, right? But anyway, that's not the point today, I guess. So I'm all for doing what we need to do to be responsible property owners, even though I don't like being a property owner.
Well, if I may, I think the board has been proactive in really dealing with nuisance properties.
Yeah.
And I think we need to set an example as to how we deal with this.
Our own nuisance property.
That's right.
Sure.
Because it is a nuisance that may be affecting the river. And I appreciate the expedited process, and I appreciate again the partnership with Public Works. And with your concurrence, we'll make this happen. And then we'll bring back those properties back in for further conversation with the board. Because it became a surprise to me that we own those waterfront properties.
Is it not good mitigation land? For the
It's not gopher land, I can tell you that.
Okay, that was like, no.
Well, in good perspective, Commissioner, hey, we have to explore all the options, right?
It might be frog land.
Yep, spotted frog. We'll find out more.
I mean, if we already own it and it, gets us bite a chunk out of that HCP mitigation land, then.
Maybe we can swap it for some mitigation land.
Oh, yeah, that'd be. Okay, so commissioners, thumbs up on this?
Yep.
Okay, so.
Thank you, and we'll report maybe in next week or following week as to how successful we have been addressing this complaint. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you to staff for being so on top of this.
Sorry about the technical difficulties.
No worries, Patrick. It happens to all of us.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Okay, with that, we'll move on to public testimony.
Yes, I'd like to highlight a letter the board received from Olympia Pediatrics. And it was related to some opportunities to have a broader conversation with the health officer. This is the gist of this letter. It has more to it, but for your. So I have touched base with Dr. Abdemalik as well as Kurt Harding. And the proposed approach is to have somewhat of an open house. There's going to be later in April, early May, similar to what we had maybe a year ago with the nonprofits. And that will give an opportunity not just for the doctors who signed this letter, and also all the medical, professionals in the county to come into this open house and have a conversation with the health officer. We will probably, as soon as we have the date and time, we will let you know, commissioners, and also we will reaching out to all the healthcare providers to specifically with the emails to send them an invitation. We will ask them to submit questions in advance, so Dr. Abdulmalik will answer those questions. But the gist will be is how we're going to be moving forward and enhancing the community public health here in Thurston County. And again, this is going to be a forum. It's not going to be just specifically related to the letter for the doctors from Olympia Pediatrics, but also just to give and provide opportunity to other healthcare providers to have a conversation with Dr. Abdulmalik. Also, I believe Commissioner Mejia itself, you also received a letter from Sound Pediatrics, which is along the same lines. So we'll make sure that we invite everyone to a conversation. I want to highlight this letter, and I'd like to provide the next steps, how we're going to be addressing this letter moving forward. Questions?
Questions?
Well, when you talk about how we're going to address this letter, if we're going to address this letter and how, maybe.
So what I'm planning to, thank you. What I'm planning to do is as soon as we have a date set for this open house, I will respond to those individuals saying, we have a schedule an open house for you and any other healthcare providers to have a conversation with Dr. Abdulmalik.
Is that going to include the Board of Health as a meeting issue, or what's our role in that? I'm not a doctor, so I don't know that I need to go argue medical points.
Well, this is more an opportunity for the medical community to have a conversation with Dr. Abdulmalik, the health officer. I don't think with all due respect, should be a role for the Board of Health or you as commissioners. But if you'd like to attend, I'm not expecting you to play a role on that. Okay. If you'd like to attend just to hear, certainly, we will try to record that meeting just to make it available to others who have not been able to attend. But that's the response that I'm planning.
What kind of a facility, where would you have that meeting?
Most likely it's going to be via Zoom, because hosting an in-person meeting to that magnitude may be a little bit difficult.
Yeah, you better have it at the fairgrounds or something.
So I think at this point we're considering to have a virtual meeting, and that will really provide a better access to those members of the medical community.
More to come.
But that's the approach that I'm planning to exercise. So I will work with Meredith and Megan just to make sure that we advertise this. And again, the umbrella will be the public health, community public health in Thurston County.
Being responsive to community concerns.
Questions, Commissioner Menzer?
No.
I do have a comment, Ramiro, with this, just to be conscious of most of these pediatricians have several appointments during the day. And I know that we've had, we're trying to schedule a pediatrician to join us on Partners, and trying to see their availability is sometimes difficult. So if you want to get the most participation out of this and really be responsive, maybe choosing a time that's going to be convenient, not for everyone, but at least that's going to be convenient for most to come and attend.
Thank you for that point, Madam Chair. And in fact, yesterday in the brief conversation, we were looking maybe for 5, 6 o'clock in the afternoon. It will not be during the day. You're correct. So maybe 5 or 6. That's probably the initial thought.
Thank you, sir. Okay, with that, we'll move on to commissioner items, and we have an hour. Commissioner Edwards, we'll start with you, sir.
You know, this is rather unanticipated. So I'm just gonna say I didn't have any burning items that I was bringing, but I would bring up that I attended a risk management meeting over in Wenatchee last week. And all of the counties are quite concerned. Gallagher Brokers hosted this meeting. And that's who we get our insurance coverage, some of our insurance coverage through. But big items of concern, the state of Washington and Oregon and California are high-risk states because of the joint and severability clause. Is that making sense? Where it goes to the deep pockets, you know?
Joint and several liability.
Yeah, that's it. Okay. And so even though the county is only 1% at fault, if there's any fault judged, and the other 99% is elsewhere, but they don't have the resources to pay it, the county has to come up with the dollar amount. And that is really driving our rates up. And how that might be addressed, personally, I think that we've lobbied the legislature in the past for specific issues that we needed to deal with. And I would think the Association of Counties would look at this from a total perspective of cutting down on our very expensive insurance bill. And that's mainly why we have that very expensive insurance bill. So there was that issue. Another big issue was recruitment and retention and the whole wage structure, not in any one category, but in all categories. Law enforcement, public works, prosecuting attorney's office, all those folks are struggling because of that. We're going to be in line for new rate increases that are coming up. There's also federal litigation going on involving the whole COVID-19 and the mandates associated with that took place in different states around the country. And once there's some kind of a federal court ruling on some of that, we could have some issues develop. So that's kind of in the works. They're watching it. The whole wage structure, though, I guess was one of the bigger items. How are we going to deal with that? And the loss of employees, mainly. Yeah. And actually, what became quite a big issue, and we've had it happen here, when people made application, one of the questions, I don't know from how many, I'm going to say less than a half, were, can I work from home? And if I can work from home, I'm interested, and if I can't work from home, I'm not interested. But then again, others, I don't want to work from home. So you've heard me talk about that in the past. So, but that's become a big issue for applicants. So anyway, covered all those topics, rate increases to come a little bit later.
Is this county commissioners mostly attending this?
Yeah, mostly, but county prosecutors and other risk people from individual counties. And we're taking on, it looks like we're taking on 2 new counties.
Which one?
2 small counties. I want to say Garfield and Adams. I'm grabbing those because they're small. The county felt, or the risk pool felt it was a good risk. They looked at their history over the past 10 years. And that's always beneficial to the rest of the member counties because it disperses the load, so to speak, providing there aren't, too many draws on it. There was one other issue I was going to throw out there, but I didn't bring any notes in with me. Okay, so maybe I'll throw that. I'll come up with that. I know there's one rattling around in there yet. It's coming up. Maybe I'll listen to others and see what they come up with.
Thank you, sir. Okay, Commissioner Menzer.
Let's see. So I was curious, maybe County Manager, about, I was curious, and Robin too, where do we stand with the requests from our court, like the court backlog and the ARPA funds? There was $8 million we allocated. The staff recommended we allocate $2 million. The majority of the board only allocated $1 million. People were going to basically make claims and make requests on that. And I mean, where does that stand? Like, there's $7 million. Have we spent the first $1 million? Do we need the other $7 million? What's going on?
So we worked for the last until December 23rd. That was the last meeting with the Law and Justice Partners. We defined really somewhat the model. It included adding positions, and I believe the board took action in creating those positions. They're in the process of recruiting those positions to addressing the backlog. I know there's a move afoot. I have a scheduled follow-up meeting here in April, in the next 2 weeks, and we have where we will know, see what is the progress of that, because the intent, I believe, of the board at that time, majority were authorizing $1 million to see what is the rate of addressing those cases. So that is going to be the gist of the upcoming meeting, just to have a status report. I will be better prepared to answer your question after that meeting occurs.
Next week?
In 2 weeks, I believe, is the upcoming meeting. And then at that point, we'll see. I don't believe they have already issued we have spending the money. Robin can probably help answer that question. But I know the Law and Justice Partners are really hiring positions and start addressing some of the backlogs.
I have nothing to add at this point. It's I'll have to check and see how much of that money has already been spent.
Okay, I'll pass it to Madam Chair. We can just go around the horn. That was one of my issues.
Yeah, and the feedback I've been hearing from, I mean, it's just really hard hiring positions right now, especially for the prosecutor's office, and public defense is struggling with those attorney positions. So I wonder if it's trickling just as they're able to get qualified people in. Okay, my issue is, I'll give an update on the meat processing plant and how that's going. I made a reference to the 35,000, and that is an item, I believe, on our budget amendment. And so kind of the steps that we've talked through, just so the process doesn't stall, is maybe getting an MOU in place with Pierce County. And I've been in conversations with Lewis County as well. And Commissioner Pollack has said that, you know, she's definitely interested, and Lewis County is interested in something like this. We're answering some questions right now and seeing what that would look like. And I'll be meeting with Commissioner Marty Campbell on the 11th, so I'll be able to provide more information on that. There was a meeting last night in regards to meat processing plants, and it was managed by Pierce County. They invited a lot of the local farmers and ranchers of this whole area, and it was very well attended, and we received a lot of feedback on that, and so it's going to be, I think, something that you know, it's going to have a huge impact to the region. So
Madam Chair,
Commissioner? Yes, sir.
could I ask you a question?
Yes, sir.
So I had heard that, so I thought I'd heard that the discussion might be pivoting toward upscaling an existing Lewis County plan versus citing some new facility. Is that accurate?
Yeah, so it's kind of, the study will cover both those questions, right? Is it better to basically upscale something that's already existing and, make it more available, help it with the USDA certification, with it being open every day. There's been some questions about workforce, if we do more of that. And if that's not possible, then, the study would also answer the questions of where can we place a new one, if we need to place a new one, where is it most viable, how big does it need to be? So all those questions are what we hope to answer with the feasibility study.
Okay.
But our hope is to possibly, we don't want to recreate the wheel. And our hope is hopefully with that feasibility study that, we can upscale something that's already in place. But if that's not the case, then, making something from scratch would be our second option.
Madam Chair, follow up on that?
Yes, sir.
Would that also address the availability of USDA inspectors on site?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's what we're really tackling after, is that USDA certification and how we can make that more available for our local ranchers and this whole region.
Yeah, if I may, Madam Chair.
Yes, sir.
I believe the deliverables of this feasibility study will include three main elements: is the type, the size, and location of this particular plan. So those are the three main deliverables I believe the feasibility study will do. As Commissioner Mejia stated, there's some opportunities to have a regional approach to this. So I believe I'm joining you on the meeting that you have with a council member from Pierce County on the 11th.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm. And one other thing is Michael Cage Group, EDC, involved in any of this at this point yet?
Yes, Aslan Mead has been involved from the very beginning.
Okay.
He's been just very on the front line of this. So they've been a lot of help on this process.
As well as Stephen Brandwell.
As well as Stephen Brandwell has been, he was there last night too. So he's just been very, lifesaver. He's been really efficient in getting the information out and meeting with the Pierce County representatives. So huge shout out to Aslan, to Jenica, and to Stephen on their work on this.
Yeah, and also a parallel to that is Stephen Bramwell is working with Jenica to provide a plan for workforce development related to this initiative. So that is in the works, and when that is well defined, we'll bring this item for your attention. So it's a lot of elements going on this.
Okay, Commissioner Edwards, back to you.
Okay, the risk pool. We purchased a firearms training, like some kind of a reality training apparatus. Must be quite extensive. I believe the cost was right around $75,000. And that's because law enforcement is one of the biggest drains on our exposure. And so this firearms training apparatus will be available to member counties at no charge to have their law enforcement officers go through this training on a regular basis.
Is it like a virtual?
Yeah, it's kind of like a virtual deal, but 25 years ago, they came up with something similar, only it obviously wasn't virtual training. It was, and if you were the officer training, if you didn't do it right, you got shot by a marble, which hurt. And, so you had, it added that element of pain to the training.
Were you hit by a marble back in the day?
Oh, I'm sure I was. Anyway, I don't know if this has the same thing to it, but it supposedly it is the state of the art. It could also be utilized for community groups that question why officers do certain things, that type of deal. And there's even the potential that we may be able to rent that out to non-member agencies or entities, you know, at some price, yet to be determined. But anyway, it was a step in the right direction, addressing that law enforcement is one of our higher liability issues. That was the piece that was rattling around.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Commissioner Menzer, back to you.
Okay, so in my ongoing effort to understand where the legislative session lands, I would like to see maybe Tom or present to us in some future time an overview of all the housing, like, you know, housing money came for through the former Governor Gregoire's effort and some of the supplemental budget surplus. And I know they think they asked for 800 million, they got 500 million, and I'm wondering, you know, what are all the legislative pieces that related to housing funding, and what will Thurston County expect to see when, for what, under what parameters? How will that fit into our ARPA funds that are sitting there versus home fund that's coming, and kind of putting that whole picture together post legislative session would be good for me. Maybe Commissioner Mejia probably gets this at RHC, but I don't, you know, I just get,
We at the RHC, we haven't touched that yet, but that's a great question. Maybe I can add this to the upcoming planning session with the commissioners.
I might steal that idea for the RHC too. That's a great idea. Thank you, Commissioner Menzer. Okay. My next item is, first, I want to give some good news. So the More Right group last year applied, and we wrote a letter of support for them for some allocation from the Patty Murray, Senator Murray's fund, and they were granted funding, and so they're going to be getting it this year. So she sends her many thanks our way for supporting her in that endeavor. So she's going to be working with many organizations here in Thurston County, especially some human trafficking organizations. To provide support to those people that are kind of re-entering services. So that was great news to hear. But in that sense, we've been reached out by the ASHO Cultural Community Center and Training Center. They're going to be applying for this grant, and they have asked us if we would be willing to write a letter of support for them as well. So I wanted to pass that by the commissioners and see if it's something that they would be interested in. And this is the center located in Tumwater.
I don't know why not. Is there a downside?
No, they're planning to submit an application to secure federal allocation for their project. And as Commissioner Mejia stated last year, the board submitted a letter of support for a different endeavor. And then this year, they're asking for the county, the board, to submit a letter of support, which I believe brings some weight to what they need to do. So we may strongly consider that. With your concurrence, I can work on that letter.
Yeah.
I see some two moving heads, affirmative moving heads.
Okay.
So if I can get a somewhat of a draft from the applicant on what they would like, then we can probably work on the format.
Thank you. I think they sent me a draft, so I'll forward that to you, County. Okay, Commissioner Edwards.
Maybe just an expansion of what I talked about from the risk pool meeting. And that is, how are we going to address adequate benefits to compensate our employees. Where we at that, inflation is crazy. I don't know, what are they saying? It's at 7.5% now or something, but is it gonna make 10? I don't know. So whatever we give them is gonna be a reduction, and they're really gonna take a pay cut. And how are we gonna retain people and recruit people in all of our areas of concern? So at some point, I think we need to have a bit of a discussion on how we're gonna prioritize our workforce compensation program. So where that's at in the bargaining process and stuff, I don't know exactly, but it is a big issue that we're gonna be struggling with. Along with other jurisdictions, we're in competition with others. I think the Yakima County prosecutor, Joe, said I think he's paying a $5,000 bonus or something right now to.
Prosecutors seem to be really in demand.
Yeah, and, but he wasn't the only one. There's lots from all segments of county government. And what are we gonna do about it? And how are we gonna address it? So, big issues.
I don't disagree. The issues coming up.
So, but we do need to talk about it if we're gonna come up with a strategy at some point. Okay, that was the cold water on a good show.
Okay. No, I'm there with you. I'm concerned too, Commissioner Edwards. Commissioner Menser?
You know, I got a lot of things that are in the nature of just updates from meetings, kind of like our Thursday commissioner check-in. I don't really have any Tuesday burning commissioner items that I haven't already addressed. I guess real quick, I'll just say that Chehalis Basin Partnership, I let the county manager know the funding that has supported that organization is no longer there. Historically, the jurisdictions have pitched in. They're gonna let us know kind of what we used to put in. And maybe we're gonna try to get some money from the legislature, but there might be this coming year where there's an ask to put in some money to keep that organization going. That's one thing. The flood authorities, Chehalis River Basin Flood Authority is gonna be making presentations, kind of orientation. There's been turnover. It's been a long time since they've gone to each group and kind of give an overview of what they do and why they exist. So that's coming. You'll be seeing something that, and I said we'd probably like to see that since we have new board members. And then lastly, I volunteered for that WASAC, Office of Public Defense advisory group. And I had my first meeting there. Former Thurston County Public Defender Larry Jefferson is the director, and he gave us a good overview of what that group does. And one of the things that was interesting is the legislature appropriated money to OPD to come up with some work on Blake, how to develop processes to make things more efficient for the purpose of sharing that then to the local jurisdiction. So we may be getting some input and guidance from OPD to our legal system about how to make Blake better, because they got given some money by the state to develop those efficiencies and processes. So just kind of keep your antenna up for that. Yeah.
A question on that. Why did they pick a municipality instead of a county, I guess? Because I think the Blake is a bigger impact with the counties than municipalities. Do you have any idea?
What do you mean municipalities?
Well, like OPD, you said, right?
OPD is a Office of Public Defense for the state.
Oh, I thought you spent the police department down there.
That's what Jeffrey.
Oh, yes, okay.
This is for the whole
Jeffrey,
state.
Yes, okay, good enough. Got it, sorry. Yep.
And maybe
I got off on the wrong track.
Going back to the Chehalis Basin Partnership, I have asked Robin to add a line item on the coming budget amendment for your consideration, just to be ready, just in case.
Yeah, they're looking for $50,000. And Centralia, I think, or Chehalis, one of those two, is putting in 10,000. And I don't know, there's a lot of jurisdictions. So, I mean, if everybody pitched in their share, Thurston's might be well south of 10,000.
So,
but I don't know.
what I asked Robin to add $10,000 for further
That would be
consideration
max, I would
during
think.
your budget amendment deliberations. So you will see that. Along with the $35,000 I believe for the meat processing plant feasibility study.
That's it for me, Madam Chair. I think I'll be done for today.
Okay. I have two more items. This is a rare occasion, so. Okay, my next item is in regards to the EDC task force. And I spoke with community members and I also spoke with staff members about it. And Robin yesterday mentioned that we technically aren't paying for the EDC task force itself, but we're paying for the position. So the task force is just kind of like a side part of that position. And so I was under the impression that we were funding the task force with 100,000, but it looks like we're just funding the position. Correct me if I'm wrong, Robin.
I believe that is correct, Commissioner.
Okay. And so with that, you know, if we're not funding it, I don't see, you know, and it's already in the contract, Ramiro, I'm not sure where you are in the process with that.
Yeah, the contract's already signed, which included funding this position. And I think what I briefly mentioned to you, Madam Chair, yesterday, in order to accommodate the board's decision was if there's any activities on that position that's being funded through ARPA funds, any activities related to managing the task force will not be paid for. And that's where in the process, if there is a way to control that. But I believe the EDC is planning to extend the task force, you know, as they see a benefit. But it's really is the money. The contract with the EDC has been funded because it includes many other elements related to the ARPA funds. And in fact, you will be seeing an amendment in a couple of weeks to complement some of the allocations they have already got to the EDC. Did I answer your question?
Yes, sir. So Commissioner Edwards, I mean, I don't think, just from the conversation we had last week, I believe you were under the same impression that I was, that we were helping fund this task force. So I mean, with this new information for me, you know, if it's the position and not the actual task force, then I'm okay keeping the contract as is. But I want to hear how you feel, Commissioner Edwards. Commissioner Metzer, you gave your opinion last week, so that's why I'm not asking you, sir.
So if I may ask I'm so sorry to interrupt, but I'd like to ask a clarifying question. Part of the contract includes fully funding the position, including the portion of the position that supports the task force. So are you okay with that, or are you wanting the EDC to separate out and not bill us for task force work?
For me, the way I feel, it's just leave it as is right now. It just seems too much of a hassle. I thought we were funding.
I appreciate that.
I felt like we were funding the position and then we were also funding the task force separately. So we were funding that position and then funding as well the creation of this task force. So that was my impression last week. Commissioner Edwards, sorry, go ahead.
Who's in there right now? Who's in that position?
Myra, she was part of the EDC update, the Thurston Strong. You may recall that our briefing, half an hour was her presentation. Yeah.
What's the dollar amount?
Oh, we signed the contract with the EDC. It's 7.5, if I recall well, the currently signed contract.
I can't remember the total amount of the contract. This portion of the contract was 100,000 or less.
Because the contract includes all the grants for businesses, all the elements that we entrusted Thurston Strong. But since the EDC is the sub-recipient of the Thurston Strong application.
Is that ARPA money?
Yeah.
Yes,
All that.
100%.
I'm with the chair.
Okay. So,
So, okay, okay as is, no changes.
yeah,
Thank you.
so thank you for providing that clarification. And then my second item is something that came up last week, and it's something that I kind of hinted at last week, but I wasn't, that I'm working with Ramiro about, and it came up. I got contacted by some local breweries, as well as some their food pop-up business owners, and there's an issue with the permits. And so Ramiro, I know, is working with Art and Sammy from Public Health. In this instance, one of the food pop-ups got shut down because of the type of permit didn't quite fit with the type of business, but we don't really have something kind of to put it under. And so it's been, there were a lot of upset business owners. So I've asked Ramiro to help me look into it. And I hope there's more to come on it. But from what I'm guessing, it's probably something in state law. But I just wanted to make the commissioners aware of it.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. I did engage Art and Art engaged Sammy in, I think they just provided a response. Let me look at the response, but certainly we're working on addressing that, the concern.
So more to come on this?
More to come, thank you. Yes, more to come.
I guess I hate to see regulatory overreach. I guess that's, and especially when it affects our, I don't know, mom and pop businesses, whatever you want to do, smaller operations, it becomes detrimental and overburdensome for them. So I don't know all the particulars that you're referring to, Madam Chair, but I've got a general feeling of overreach by government that oftentimes adversely impacts these businesses. So, I don't want to be in that position if I can help it.
So that is all I have.
And then
So
I have another, one more glaring issue if we do we have time?
Yes, sir.
What are we gonna do about the Ag Committee? I know nobody, it almost seems like it's a topic nobody's too thrilled about, but what are we gonna do? We gotta do something, and I'm gonna throw something out there that probably isn't politically correct, but I know if we're talking about minorities, we've got two black folks that are at opposite ends of what is going on there. One doesn't think she's in the same universe with the other one. And I'm trying to figure this all out. I don't know the answer, but we need to do something. I think we got some darn good applicants there. We keep waiting for a book to be done to clarify some things, but in the meantime, can't they keep doing business? They've got people that are interested and willing to participate, and if you ask...
Are they not doing business?
Well, they feel stymied, that's all. I guess
Because
that's
of the 3 people that resigned?
Yeah, the failure.
They said those 3 people were problematic, so they should be doing better business than ever, according to the chair.
Well, I think they've got potentials for input from others that want to participate.
And you said a couple of those people go to the meetings anyway, whether they're on the committee or not.
They go to listen. They don't go to participate.
Okay. Well,
And they don't vote. And what's the problem with moving forward? I just don't get it myself, but I'm trying not to make like I'm a I've said before, I guess I've never experienced discrimination. I guess I'm fortunate in that regard. So I'm just wondering what the issue is, and are we gonna fix it at some point? We don't have to do it today, just point of interest.
That may require more than 30 minutes,
Okay, good
Mayor,
enough.
was
Just
there-
something to think about.
Is there input coming from our committee liaison that we, I thought I'd heard something of that around that, and I was curious about what that input might be.
I have not received that.
Okay.
Sounds like more to come.
So, yeah, I mean, honestly, I have a lot to say. I've been working with other ag committees with other counties right now, especially as we're working in this meat processing plant, and I've been very impressed with how they work, and I've been very just surprised on you know, how they're able to run, and so, you know, we keep hearing, you know, the words from the chair of don't make this committee political, but I mean, this committee isn't political. It's not political to me. I know it's not political for anyone else in this board, or I mean, at least, you know, that's what I believe. You know, it's not a political committee. But, you know, we hear a lot of criticism from this committee, especially directed at the board, and it's just very, very disappointing and frustrating at times, especially as I've been jumping around and seeing how other committees work and how well they work with their either their council or their commission, and just seeing how well they're able to communicate with each other without that criticism or judgment or blame. And so, you know, I've been talking with different parties around the county and seeing, you know, how can we help address this, because you know, I agree there's a lot of good committee members that have applied, but at the same time, you know, is it going to be another instance where we're going to keep hearing from them about different issues? And you know, I agree with Commissioner Menser. They were, you know, the chair complained about these 3 members, and yet, you know, I agree, they should be getting more business done if that was the case beforehand. If not, what's kind of stopping them now? And so that's why I've been hesitant to approve anyone. I really want to see, you know, the guidebook that comes out, and because I'm not to the point where I'm ready to appoint anyone. I mean, I don't want it to just be kind of the same old, where it's a repetition of the same issues we've been hearing about for, I mean, ever since I've been in office. So that's kind of how I feel about this specific committee right now.
Okay, we're done. All right.
Okay, with that, anything else? Okay, thank you, commissioners.
Thank you.
It's 11:40. We are adjourned.
Thank you.